The day during which I'm recording this video right now is actually very special because 30 years ago today, on this exact day, the 8th of December of 1991, the country once known as the Soviet Union has completely ceased to exist, officially. I guess it's up to you guys whether to celebrate or to mourn this date, but for me, this actually got me thinking about the Soviet Union and Soviet symbols in general, and I realized when I was, thinking about it, that right now in modern Russia, we still have one Soviet symbol that is, not quite like the rest. And I am, of course, talking about the Mausoleum of Lenin. It is a building that is essentially located right in the very heart of Moscow in the Red Square right next to the Kremlin, which houses the mummified body of the Russian revolutionary and sort of the creator of the Soviet Union, Vladimir Lenin. And actually has been housing it for like almost 100 years now. And thinking about it, it's quite crazy, right? And it's just really interesting why Lenin's body is still in there, considering the fact that Stalin actually used to be in the mausoleum for a couple of years as well. But Stalin was removed from the mausoleum. Lenin, however, still stays, and I think a lot of people today, not only in Russia but in the West as well, have the question, why is Lenin still on display in 2021 in the very center, in the very heart of Russia? And that is exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Let's discuss a little bit of history, how this mausoleum came to be even, discuss the reasons for why the mausoleum is still in operation, and also look at some of the reasoning from the side of the people who want to get it removed, and I guess try to come to some sort of decent understanding on why the Lenin mausoleum is still a thing. So the first Soviet leader, Vladimir Lenin, died in January 1924, and essentially the interesting thing is that the idea to embalm Lenin's body and actually put it into like a mausoleum or like a sarcophagus or crypt of some sort has been actually there before Lenin's death, because his health was very bad at the end of his life, and people, were kind of already preparing for like the transfer of power. And according to the reports, one of the first people to talk about this was actually Stalin. He was in favor of embalming the body of Lenin, and other people such as Trotsky, for example, were very much against it. They were saying that this is essentially looks like a sort of a religious act at this point. And if you guys don't know, the Soviet Union, especially at the very start of it, was a very atheist, like super anti-religious government. But anyway, the decision was made, and shortly after his death, the embalming process has started. Look, I'm really not gonna get into it, but basically they did it so that it could be preserved for hundreds and hundreds of years. So yeah, from 1924 until 1930, actually 2 mausoleums were built, and they were like temporary, and they were in like slightly different locations. But in 1930, the current mausoleum that you can actually go to, if you go to Russia now, you will see it. That mausoleum that currently exists was built in 1930. So again, Lenin's body has been embalmed and preserved for almost 100 years now. That is just mind-blowing. So yeah, before we get to the last little bits of history, if you guys are wondering right now what is being done to Lenin's body, essentially according to the data, his body is treated and renewed, I guess, every 1.5 years currently. So there's a special institute that works on this, and yeah, they're doing their thing, keeping the guy looking fresh. And yeah, as far as the way Lenin looks in the mausoleum, I mean, to be completely fair, I've never actually been to the mausoleum myself. I really need to go, to be honest, because it's incredible, isn't it? Quite honestly, I feel like he barely looks the same at this point. And as far as the footage of how this embalming process goes, there's really not much on the internet, but there is this one video that's become pretty big at this point. This Russian TV channel did a documentary about how the embalming of Lenin's body works, and they had this footage in it of essentially workers of this institute treating the body and sort of putting in in this a special substance and everything, and sort of getting the body out. And it looks so creepy. The skin color is very wrong and everything. He has this massive hole between his ribs. I mean, I didn't even know if this is good for YouTube as far as the monetization goes and everything, but yeah, it's just really weird to look at, honestly. So yeah, let's continue a little bit. In 1953, when Stalin actually passed away, his body was also immediately embalmed and put into the same building, essentially. So the Mausoleum of Lenin now was called Mausoleum of Lenin and Stalin. They even changed the sign. It said Lenin and Stalin. But if you guys know the history of the Soviet Union, after Stalin's death, the next leader of the Soviet Union was Nikita Khrushchev, who essentially with the Communist Party started a massive campaign against Stalin, essentially, basically destroying his code of personality. So yeah, Khrushchev's rhetoric towards Stalin was very harsh, and essentially as a result of that, his body was actually removed from the mausoleum and it was changed back to just Lenin. So yeah, they removed Stalin, but they did not remove Lenin. Lenin had nothing to do with it. That was just Stalin and Khrushchev beef, And yeah, basically after that point, there's really not been much that happened to the mausoleum mausoleum. I mean, it just stands there. You can still go visit it today. Anyway, another interesting fact about the mausoleum is that actually the laboratory that's been sort of organized to, you know, preserve the body and to embalm it, it's actually served a lot of countries at this point. For example, Ho Chi Minh, the leader of Vietnam, was actually embalmed in that exact laboratory. And actually both Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il were also embalmed in like the Russian laboratory that is related to the Lenin Mausoleum, which is pretty fascinating. So I guess because of this situation, Russia probably has like the best specialists in like embalming people, you know? But yeah, now that we've discussed the fascinating history of the mausoleum, I think it's time to talk about why it's still a thing, and if anybody at any point has tried to, you know, take it down or get rid of it, and sort of why it's never happened, I guess. So pretty much ever since like the perestroika days of Gorbachev and stuff, ever since 1989, there's been talks around in the Russian society, in the Russian political world, of taking down the Lenin Mausoleum. So for example, the mayor of St. Petersburg at the time, Sobchak, was speaking out in favor of taking down the mausoleum, and apparently he was supported by Gorbachev at that point. The first Russian president, Boris Yeltsin, actually spoke out about removing the mausoleum from the Red Square a couple of times, tried to sort of push that narrative, but it never really worked out. And actually ever since 1990, the mausoleum has been considered like a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. So yeah, on the brink of the collapse of the Soviet Union, and also during the first president, there was a lot of talk about taking down the mausoleum. And it's understandable because at that time in the Russian society, sort of the movement was, because the Soviet Union collapsed, there was a lot of, you know, very liberal, sort of westernized outlets and media and political activists and all this sort of stuff. So a lot of people were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get rid of our Soviet past. Let's get rid of this body from, you know, our beautiful Red Square and everything. But, you know, talking is not action, and it never actually happens. And after Yeltsin stepped down, Vladimir Putin became the president, and obviously, and pretty much for most of his time in power, Putin has been pretty outspokenly against taking down Lenin's body. And over the years, this topic has been brought up plenty of times. For example, check out what Putin said in a response to a journalist in 2019.
Теперь, что касается тела или не тела, дело совершенно не в этом. И, на мой взгляд, этого не нужно трогать. Во всяком случае, до тех пор, пока есть, а у нас есть очень много людей, которые с этим связывают свою собственную жизнь, свою судьбу, связывают с этим определенные достижения прошлого советских лет. А Советский Союз так или иначе, безусловно, связан с вождем мирового пролетариата Владимиром Ильичем Лениным. Вот поэтому вот лучше не забираться. Зачем? Надо просто идти вперед и все, и развиваться активно.
So yeah, I feel like he has a pretty fair look at this. A lot of people that are still alive today in Russia obviously are people who lived in the Soviet Union, who might have idolized Lenin, who liked him. And you know, seeing the mausoleum being taken down would essentially just make those people very mad and upset. And you know, there's really no point in it. And I think it's a fair outlook, to be honest. And here's the thing, I want to get into like what kind of people are usually against it and what kind of people are usually for it. But it actually seems to not be exactly the same with the mausoleum topic. Because if you look at it, like a lot of the people that are like in the ruling party, United Russia, have actually spoken out to take it down pretty recently. So that includes people such as like the prosecutor of Crimea, Pokolonskaya, Medinsky, who used to be a minister of culture. They have spoken out to take it down, while, you know, Putin himself, for example, is against taking it down. So it's really interesting that, you know, even the people that are in the same party seem to have different opinions, which just, I think, which just shows, to me personally, that this is not a pressing issue. And it's basically the kind of issue where, you know, no matter your political association, you can sort of have your own opinion. And it's also interesting to look at it because seemingly, I don't really feel like, you know, on Russian media, on Russian TV and stuff like that, state TV, I don't really feel like there's much of a push of like sort of glorifying the Soviet Union or Soviet leaders. But yeah, there's no like pro-Soviet propaganda on Russian TV. You know, that's what I'm trying to say essentially. But still, the president's position is that the mausoleum should be kept. Now let's get to the people that are in support and against, you know, taking down the mausoleum. It's usually like the older generation and also members and people that are, you know, supporting or in favor of the Communist Party of Russia, which is actually pretty big. And you know, the Communist Party sees the Soviet leaders as great leaders, so you know, obviously they still want to have the Lenin's mausoleum in there. And I say a lot of people who are like in favor of it, they don't really have any political affiliation, they just think it's kind of cool and kind of unique, to be honest, because let's be fair, like, this is a big tourist attraction still. you know? And I guess the people that are really, you know, pro taking down the mausoleum, it's usually more like the progressive, sort of liberal, sort of more Western-minded people. So you'd say like maybe the young people. I feel like if you ask the majority of the young people, they don't really care for the mausoleum. But again, not really caring for it and wanting to take it down is slightly different, I guess. And I think people that are very anti-Soviet, you know, anti-communist, anti-socialist, anti-left-wing, essentially, would be in favor of taking down, you know, the mausoleum. So these can be right-wing nationalist groups. These can also be like, you know, basically just liberals, sort of rejecting the Soviet past and everything, you know, saying that we need to move on, move past it. So yeah, I feel like those are the people that are usually against the mausoleum. Now, the reason why I feel like the situation is like at a stalemate right now, I think that the thing is just that it's not particularly important for any of the sides, you know? It's not the most pressing issue in Russia right now that, you know, both sides are trying to address. I think, you know, for the governments, you know, the main thing essentially are doing geopolitical moves, trying to build relationships with other countries, look at the economy and everything, deal with COVID, try to get people vaccinated, all this stuff. You know, talking about the mausoleum, it's really not on their agenda. That's way more pressing stuff to do, and I feel like it's very much the same on the side of the opposition too. They have other issues to address, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of media, journalism, human rights, you know, all this stuff. Basically for them as well, there's a lot on their plate that, you know, is not related to the mausoleum. So I feel like that's just the thing in current Russia, and for the past like 20 years, or like, should I say for the majority of modern Russian history, I feel like nobody has really cared about the mausoleum that much. And if you guys ask my opinion of it, I think it's pretty much largely the same. If you would have told me right now that, you know, the mausoleum is, you know, never being taken down, it's gonna be in Russia in the year 200 2022, you know, I'll be like, okay, whatever, you know. And also, if you guys came in the room right now and literally told me, dude, you know, the government just announced that the mausoleum is being taken down tomorrow, it's not like I'm gonna jump up and scream in fucking excitement. It's really not gonna do much for me. I mean, actually, I probably might get kind of upset because I never got to visit it. So yeah, that's basically the situation with the Lenin mausoleum, with Lenin's body being present on the Red Square. I think it's a really interesting topic to discuss, and overall, I feel like, you know, when you think about it, it is one of those like crazy things that can only happen in Russia. And I feel like, you know, it creates some interest. You know, you guys are watching this video right now because you're interested in why Lenin's body is still in the Red Square. People might come to Russia to check it out for themselves. It's a tourist magnet. So maybe actually it's pretty smart to not do anything with it. I don't know. Anyways, guys, yeah, I think this is going to be pretty much it for this video, though. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, then please make sure to slap the like on it. As well, guys, if you want to support me additionally, go over to the link down in the description to my Patreon, donate to it, okay? Support the channel, honestly, helps me out a lot. So, yeah, that is going to be pretty much it for this video, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.